All right, Emily, you said you want to kind of know what happened to you that day on the Homosassa River. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what I remember happening that day, and I think I'm as good as authority as anybody to tell you. Um, I'm not a good videographer, so you're just gonna have to bear with me on this. And again, you're probably watching this on my YouTube channel, so feel free to do with it what you want. And I really wanted to do this for you because in the event something would happen to me, at least you know what, you've got my version of it, and really, this story belongs to you, and for your family, and for your kids, and just your immediate family, everybody, your parents that weren't there, and your friends that know you, your husband. Um, so I'm just going to tell you everything. You told me to don't spare any details, so get you some popcorn. This might take a few minutes. Um, you know, I haven't really, I don't think about it a lot that day, obviously, because it didn't physically affect me like it did you. But I mean, obviously, every time a thundercloud rolls in, it, you're the first thing that thing I think of. So what happened with us that day was that we were in a pontoon boat. It was me and Stacy and her mom, and we'd been out doing some fishing, and we were down at the spring, and some clouds started rolling in. And so we had made a decision to start heading back to that little cottage that we were renting. Couldn't take you there today. I don't even know where it's at. And so we decided to head back. And we left, Wally and Jeanette left, and Chad and Amanda were in a boat. And it was kind of in that order. And as we were going back to the cottage, it was no wake zone, obviously. And I remember breaking awake. I mean, I wasn't worried about the no wake zone. And somebody in the way, it was either Stacy or Mom, says, I better slow down before I get a ticket. And I remember telling them, it's kind of ironic. I remember saying, I'll pay the ticket. I'd rather pay a ticket than get struck by lightning. And so lo and behold, as we were pulling up to our dock there at our rented cottage, Stacy stood up to catch the boat, grab the dock. And as she stood up, um, almost about the time we got to the dock, I heard probably the loudest noise I've ever heard in my life. And it sounded like, and obviously you can understand this reference, it sounded like somebody, when you bird hunt and somebody shoots right over the top of your head. And that's exactly what it was. It sounded like somebody had a shotgun and shot right beside my ear. And I mean, we had no idea what it was because the clouds were behind us. It wasn't raining. The clouds weren't over the top of us. It wasn't like one of those black, dark, nasty spots. It was sunshine. And I remember telling Stacy to get down, get on the balls of your feet. And which I don't know if there's any practicality to that. That's just what I remember saying. And then I remember hearing screaming, and I'm like, "What in the world was that?" And we looked back, and Julie was in Wally's boat and screaming, and Miss Janelle was screaming, and so we got our pontoon boat kind of secured, and we're like, "What is going on?" And they were saying she just got struck by lightning. Emily got struck by lightning, and so at that same time, there were, I know, one boatload. There might have been multiple boatloads. I'm not sure, of guys coming in from out of the Gulf, coming up the river, that were, I think, staying at the same place. And they saw it happening, and they were screaming. They was like, "Oh my gosh, she just got struck by lightning!" And it was there was a brief moment there where, like, did this really just happen? I mean, seriously, did this just happen? And Julie was screaming, and rightfully so. And I remember telling Wally to get his boat up to the dock, and he said it won't shut off. It won't shut off. He couldn't. I don't know if he couldn't get it out of gear or what it was, but it was almost a brand new boat, if my memory serves me correctly, and he couldn't get it to disengage, get out of the gear, or whatever the case was. I think that's what it was, because Wally, being the just absolute phenomenal human being he is, just wedged the boat up to the dock. I mean, he just knows that it was a polar skiff. I believe it was a polar skiff, and he just wedged it right up to the dock, and the boat was just doing that, And I jumped in the boat and was trying to assess you and figuring out exactly kind of what needs to happen. And I'm not sure who was around, so you may have to get that from other people. But Wally couldn't get the boat turned off. And so I'm not even sure who helped me get you onto the dock. But somebody helped me get you onto the dock. And Amanda immediately was there. I mean, I turned around and she was there. And so she and I just, it's not like we had a conference. It's not like we started talking about it. We just immediately started doing CPR on you. And at the time, over the years, CPR has changed. It was, I believe at that point, it was, if it was a single person CPR, it was 10 rescue breaths. 10 chest compressions to 2 rescue breaths. If it was 2-man, no, I stand corrected. If it was 2-man, it was 5 and 1, I believe it is. It doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. Make a long story short, she and I started doing CPR on you, and I believe it was a 5-to-1 ratio. I think it was, or 10-to-2, one of those. Whatever we did, it worked. So I think it's all changed now. And so we started doing CPR on you, and as I recall, everything just kind of slowed down. It really did. Everything slowed down. It's like she and I were working in slow motion, but everything around us was just going 3 times as fast as it should be. And we just got into a groove and started doing chest compressions and rescue breathing. And I remember she was on her knees, standing over you with her hands on your face, and she had your chin back, and she was just breathing you. I mean, she was just breathing. Your face was like a purple, and you were just lifeless. And I was just doing the chest compressions, and every time I pushed on your chest, like I'm looking at your mouth, and every time I pushed on your chest, the smoke would just come up, poof, poof, poof. And I'm sitting here looking at this, and I'm saying, oh my God. I mean, did this really just happen? I mean, we were just swimming at the springs, and now I'm doing chest compressions on Emily, and smoke's coming out of her mouth. It was just the craziest thing. And people were on their cell phones running around just screaming. And I believe Dwayne Sessoms was standing beside me, because he didn't go to the springs with us. I believe he stayed at the cottage. And I don't really recall who else was around us. And there was a guy that came running up to me as I was doing this, and he started yelling at us, Amanda and I. And he was on his phone, and he was yelling, "You guys are doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong." And I remember it was all in slow motion, and I remember still doing the chest compressions. And I remember thinking to myself, what in the hell are you talking about, dude? You're doing it wrong. She's dead. I mean, we're not doing CPR on a live person here. She's dead. If we're doing it wrong, what's the end result? I mean, we're doing the best we can. I mean, we're doing all we know to do. And it's more than you're doing, running around like an idiot. But anyway. So I just ignored him. I'm like, whatever, dude, shut up. And I just kept doing the chest compressions, and Amanda kept doing the rescue breathing. And the storm was still gathering and approaching behind us. And I remember turning to Dwayne, and I said, we got to get out of here. And he leaned down and he said, what? And I said, we got to get out of here, man. We got to get her out of here. And in his defense, I mean, he was just kind of dazed too, and there was I don't know why I said it to him. I don't know why. I guess I was just looking for verification, because I was about to make a move and I wanted to make sure that it was the right move. I didn't want to screw it up. And so, um, nobody, I mean, it was like everybody was just letting me and Amanda do what we were doing. And I remember asking Amanda, do you want to switch? You want me to do the breathing and you do the chest compressions? And she said, no, I'm good. Are you okay? I said, no, I'm okay. Are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm good. I said, then let's just keep going. I don't know how long we were there. I really don't. But I remember saying, this isn't good. We got to get the hell out of here. And so I just told her, I said, Amanda, as soon as we finish this rotation, we're picking her up and we got to go in that cabin. And she said, just tell me when. I said, all right. And I told Dwayne, when I tell you, you get her leg, and somebody else was standing there. And I said, you get her leg. And I remember telling somebody to get the door open, and because we got to get out of here. And I remember saying that if we don't get out of here, somebody else is going to be struck by lightning, and that's crazy. And so that's when I told him, man, I said, after this rotation, we're picking her up and we're hauling ass. And she said, okay. And as soon as we did, as soon as she was done, that's what we picked you up. And it was like in slow motion. I don't remember who was. I mean, I was zoned out, and just toting your dead body. You were dead, and I'm like, how in the hell? She's dead. I mean, we each had a limb, and it probably wasn't graceful, and you were just lifeless. Your head was falling back. I don't even know if we supported your head. I don't remember, but we did the best we could to get you in that cabin and get you out of that weather, because we didn't want to be doing CPR and it pouring down rain on top of us. I mean, there was no net gain out of staying on that dock. The lightning was coming in closer, and everybody was panicking and screaming like hell. So we got you in there and we got you settled, and then we started back. And I said, hey, you want me to do that? I told Amanda, I said, are you good? She's like, yeah, I'm good. Let's just keep going. So we kept going, and you were in front of the couch on that little cottage, and we just kept doing CPR. And I don't know how long we did it for. I'm thinking, I don't remember. I want to say 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I remember getting tired. It was a long day, but obviously you don't. I mean, it's just a mental fatigue. It's not a physical fatigue. There's no way you're going to stop. And Amanda the same way. And then I didn't think it was going to happen, kiddo. I'm telling you, I just didn't. I just didn't. I said, we're just going to continue to do this until the paramedics get here. And then you took her breath. And the instant you took her breath, I stopped. And Amanda stopped. And there were other people in the room, and they said, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I said, she's breathing. I remember saying, she's breathing. You don't do CPR on somebody that's breathing, because she's alive now. And we were hovering over you like crazy. You know what I mean? We were just, our eyes were fixated on you. We were watching your mouth, your chest, and you were just shallow breathing. And because the second that we didn't think you were breathing, we were going to do it again. It wasn't long after that. It was pouring rain. It was pouring rain outside. And the paramedics came in, and they took you from there. And honestly, I don't remember anything past that point. I know I didn't stay there that night. We left. Stacy and I left. And I don't remember when it was. I don't think it was the next day. I think it might have been a couple days later. And we went over to your mom and dad's house. And we pulled up there, and I got out of my truck. And little John Ed at that time, was walking over to one of the y'all's barns. and he yelled at me. I think he called me Mr. Luke. So, John, if you ever watch this, just keep that respect, punk. Mr. I'm just kidding. So John Ed says, Mr. Luke. And I turned back and I said, yeah, man. And he says, thank you for saving my sister. And that's crazy. That was just so, that hit me. That hit me hard because I'm like, what do you mean, thank you for saving your sister, man? I didn't do anything. I mean, it was crazy. So that's what I remember. It was a it seems like so long ago, but it seems like not so long ago for me. And I'm making this video in June of 2018. And Emily, I told you whenever I asked if you wanted me to do this, I'm going to give you my opinion. And here's my opinion. I know that I've read your Facebook post, and some people have said that you were lucky. And I'm not trying to minimize their opinion by no means. But I don't believe in luck, especially with something like this. Because here's why. If I were to say that you were lucky, or if I were to try to take some credit for that day, then to me that completely robs the good Lord for what He's done for you. And Emily, I feel like He's given you something that not a lot of human beings get. And He gave you 2 first breaths. You understand? When we were doing CPR on you, I really feel like the good Lord said that's enough, and He let you breathe again. Because here's why, Emily. Here's why it's not luck. It's not luck because you were standing up on that boat, and if I'm not mistaken, you were on the port side of the boat. You're on the left side of the boat, and when lightning struck you, there was basically two options. Okay, you could have fallen into the boat. You could have fallen out of the boat. And now let me just tell you, there was a lot of boat traffic that day on the river. The water was murky. The current was strong. And Emily, I'm going to tell you, had you fallen out of that boat, no way anybody could have saved you. I mean, the second you hit that water, you would have disappeared. Disappeared. So even though the good Lord allowed you to get struck by lightning, He also laid you down in that boat. All right. A week before that happened, I got recertified in CPR. Okay. The boat didn't blow up. The boat was still operable. I mean, when all this stuff isn't luck. Okay. If that boat could have very easily not been operable, and then if that boat was shut off, Wally couldn't have got you to the dock. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the boat, it would have just drifted down the river. There's so many different factors. So many different factors that took place. That had this one thing been tweaked, I wouldn't be making this video. All right, so none of it's luck. Okay, I didn't do anything special, and I can't speak for Amanda, but I don't think anybody there did anything special. Amanda and I did what we were trained to do. We instantly just fell into a training mode, and that's what we were trained to do. And we're honored. I can't speak for Amanda, but I'm sure I've spoken to her quite a few times about this. But I know she's honored as well to been there that day, that spot, to do that for you and your family. And you don't owe me anything. You'll never owe me anything. You know, if any time that you feel fortunate that you're alive, it's by the grace of God that you're here, because there's so many things that could have tweaked and changed, and we wouldn't be I wouldn't be making this video. So I hope that helped shed some light on it. And if you ever have any questions about it, just let me know. Okay. See.